when we created it in 2017, so this year it's the 5th anniversary of the World Algae Day.
I think you buy algae on that anniversary. I think that's there's the silver, the gold anniversary. I think that 5 years is the algae anniversary. So yeah, sorry.
Right. No, it's nothing really planned. It's just open for everyone, for every company, for every institution to use it for their activities. And the last 5 years, I was very surprised and very happy how this idea spread over the world. And it's very nice to see during that day. It starts early in Australia, where companies make their posts around that. And then it moves through Asia and Europe to the US, onto North America in the late afternoon or in the night here in Germany. Mm-hmm. So for me, it's very easy to see during the day where the posts come from. So this is.
Are there any countries that have surprised you as you were looking at it, being like Nepal?
The first thing, I was surprised that it's really celebrated worldwide now. I think every continent is present. Meanwhile, Africa, South America, North America, Europe, Asia, Australia, everyone.
Antarctica. We got to get to Antarctica. That's the.
Everyone is celebrating World Algae Day. Companies are doing their special offers on that day, whatever. Even National Geographic was reporting about the World Algae Day and about the importance of algae. I was very happy that they took this day to speak about algae. Last year, there was also a big newspaper in India, I think, where there was a big article about the World Algae Day, about me as a creator and the background. And 2 years ago, I was very surprised and very happy. I got an email from an Indian university. And due to the World Algae Day, they created a 2-day seminar for their students to work on algae as food. And they sent me photos from the students and what they did for kind of experiments and such things. So there are a lot of nice examples that the media can use it to talk about algae, to use this nice story to highlight the algae and to create awareness, because this is the major goal, to create awareness for this kind of organisms. For the company, it's nice because they can do something special on that day. And even for the universities, they can maybe say, okay, on this day, we make something special to also focus on the potential, if it's food or if it's plastic alternatives or feed or
biofuel. Yeah, biofuel. We haven't even talked about that.
Yeah, it's a bit difficult to.
It's a bit difficult.
Yeah. But for me, it doesn't matter. Everyone who's talking on that day about algae contributes to this awareness that we have to create and to make.
No, absolutely. And so I kind of like, because you were talking about nanochlorosis and you were switching out, that we're going to do nanochlorosis in winter, chlorella in the summer. And you even said that the time, like October the 12th, is kind of the time that we kind of switch off the harvest. And even when I used to work in wintertime, you'd almost have like a breath of relief when October and the winter came, because you could imagine in the Negev desert, Hemedococcus being grown, it's like every few days, every day you have 4 or 5 harvests of reactors. And so then when winter comes, the harvesting starts to slow down. You start to see 3 harvests, 4 harvests a day, things like that, as it keeps going on. So like when I get into wintertime, not only is it Christmas, it's World Algae Day. It's like, oh all right, we've come to it. It's October the 12th is World Algae Day. Then we got Halloween, Thanksgiving, Christmas. Good, we got it. We're able to breathe now. And so it is what kind of, like October the 12th, it seems to have been a pretty cool date to actually pick on. Can you, like, you started this off as a collaboration with World Algae News. Can you tell me about that collaboration? Because sadly, World Algae News is not really around anymore. And can you just tell me the story of how that sort of started?
Yeah, the creator of World Algae News is sitting in Asia. It's Tian Qian Li, very nice young scientist. And when I started my blog, The World of Algae, I recognized a bit later that there was another blog coming from Asia, and this was called the Algae World News. And I focused in my blog more on the stories, on recipes, such things, and he focused more on the industrial impact, which companies are there and what products are there and such things. So it was a perfect match if we say, okay, we could maybe do something together. I think there was a congress here in Europe. He was invited, and he also visited our algae farm in Klötze. And this was our first personal meeting in Klötze, and it was very, very nice to talk to Kian. And we said, okay, we don't know today what we want to do together, but we have to do something together because we have more or less the same goal: to collect news, to collect stories, and to tell to the people in a very easy way. And when I was on the way to create the World Algae Day, I wrote Kian the message, okay, I'm on the way to create this World Algae Day. Are you in? Are you willing to support me with that? Because you also have your readers worldwide in your community. I have it in my community. And he said immediately, yeah, wow, what a nice story. I will be your media partner. This is in fact how we started. It was just two people. It was the Algae World News, and it was me. And already we got a lot of attention, but it grew steadily over the years. And yeah, I'm very excited to see what happened this year.
I have to say that, Algae World News is one of the sites I used to go to. And I've been working with algae since about 2014. And so I didn't I didn't have even a scientific background. I didn't know anything about algae and learned about it. And Algae World News was one of the sites I went to and expanded my mind and went, pardon my French, holy shit, there's a lot of algae out there, and there's a lot of things we can do with it. And so have you guys tried to be able to, over the years, try to get the UN to recognize World Algae Day? Can you tell me about that, if not?
Yeah, we tried to make it official, but this is not so easy to do because we got an answer from them and they said, okay, it's a maybe nice idea to have a World Algae Day. But what we want to see first is that this day is really supported by the community. So that this is not only an idea of 1 or even 100 people. We really want to see that there's a demand, that there are supporters, and there are also organizations behind you. And I think in 2 or 3 years, we can go again and we can say, okay, there are companies worldwide, universities worldwide, and maybe also organizations supporting this day. Maybe we can start the next trial to make it official. I'm not sure today if it's really needed. It would be nice, but it's not a need.
Right. No, I kind of agree with that. That you guys created this in 2017. You created it in 2017, World Algae Day, and it kind of worked. I mean, with your help, doing everybody working their little, but it grew organically, and it grew from the community that they want to participate. It almost like you had a lighthouse and you put out a beacon and you said, hey, anybody want to join? And everybody went, yeah, sure. That we've been looking for this the entire time, and it gives them like this central point to all come together and celebrate algae and try to spread that awareness a little bit more. And over the years, it has grown. So.
And I'm pretty sure that it will grow also in the future, because now the focus is on algae. The European Union, they are working on an algae initiative to push the sector here in Europe. So there are now really officials behind this development, and not only in Europe, also in the US, I see a lot of development. In Asia, of course, they have a long-term background already, and they grow with new products and also with new markets. It's very interesting to watch them. So the topic of algae is growing, so the awareness will grow, and maybe also the day come more and more into the focus, because it's a nice vehicle, as we discussed already, to transport messages. And it doesn't matter if you are from a company, a university, or from an institution. You can tell your story, and again, this will create a kind of spiral, an upward spiral, and maybe one day they will say, "Wow, it's maybe already official." So,
Right. Yeah. No, I think that's actually the answer of, how are we going to get the UN to recognize it? I think we don't worry about that. We just
yeah.
let it organically grow. And at some point the UN will call you or at some point and be like, hey, come over to Brussels. We got a plaque or something like that.
And I say at the end, it's not so important. What I have learned in my last years is, if you have an idea, just focus on your idea, and everything else will come afterwards. You maybe you can have already the idea where you want to go or what would be nice, and of course the UN approval to have an official day was already on the horizon, but it was not the focus. The focus was to fill this idea with content, to make it visible, to attract as much people as we can, to do something on the day, and then it will grow organically, like you said. And this is for me more important than to have the big vision realized within just a few years. This can wait.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, no, algae's been here for millions of years. Billions of years. I think it can wait. It doesn't, I don't think they're waiting around for the world to be like, whoa, algae. Maybe like we know, we've been here, we got it. We've been here for a while.
Yeah, it needed already 3 billion years that people know that algae are the creator of oxygen in our atmosphere. So now it could take 5 years more to be an official recognized.
Yeah, absolutely. Have you been in contact with any like phycological societies, like from Germany, for instance, or trying to do something with that? Are you personally doing anything for World Algae Day? What are you personally doing?
Yeah, I think I'm still a member of the German Phycological Society, but I'm not sure, because there's just one meeting a year, and I did not join since many years. And I learned during that meetings where I was many years ago that they are really focused on their scientific topics. And at that time, when I started to join their meetings, there was, how to say it with the right words, there was not so much interest to go to the public to make it really attractive. Also that people think about algae. This changed years later when the topic of biofuels came, because then it was, of course, sexy for the scientists that everyone said, wow, if algae can produce a sustainable biofuel, then algae researchers are really something like cool.
Yeah,
and
exactly. Yeah.
Till that day, algae researchers were something like freaks working with this green slimy thing.
Slimy.
Right. And at that time, also researchers started to be more public, or to transport some messages. And here in Germany, you have, for instance, the algae of the year, and
really,
it's one of these species.
And all that started, you would say, around when biofuel, like in the early 2000s, in mid 2000s, 2010, it started out being like cool and all that, and then. So I think a lot of, if anybody's listening to this, I'm pretty sure they understand that the algae biofuel industry was very big and kind of collapsed on itself. It's not gone. It's still possible to do certain things with it, and the research that goes into it is very important. But a different angle to it is looking at it. It gave algae, the lack of a better word, the sunlight in the public's eye, to be able to see them and be like, oh, what? Oh, it's not just slime. It's wow, look, this thing can really be something. And so it's not, everybody says the biofuel failure. It may have not been a failure as in helping the algae industry to continue forward where it's going.
Yes, but even with this, when you ask for these societies, the first interest, I think, came from the media, because they recognized very early, wow, algae could be a kind of hot topic for us to tell a story. And then they were looking, of course, for experts to answer their questions. And they went to the societies, and there was not a kind of press person who answered the stories of these media.
Right.
But when they recognized, okay, there's a growing interest, then they said, okay, we have to do something. We make a list of our experts for the special topics, biofuels or whatever. So the media have their contact persons. They recognized, wow, what we are doing here in our daily work is now interesting for the public. But it came from the public. It
Yes.
doesn't
Right.
come
I see
from the
what you're saying.
society.
Yeah.
They were not
Entirely.
very proactive. It came from the other
Right.
side. And this is
Yeah.
also interesting to know.
Right. No, and I've been to the recently, like about 2 years ago, when before COVID, to the British Phycological Society, and I've been there, and they are very towards science, which is absolutely understandable. But they are trying to add in art and different ways of using algae, and the trying to show that a little bit more. I think even to their own academics, because I've talked to algae experts, that are, and then I go, well, do you know about I don't know, plastics or using it as a dye? And they're like, what? Not all what, but I mean, like, they're like, oh, that's interesting. I didn't hear about that, and that kind of thing. And it's very interesting to see that. I think there is maybe something switching over now where people want to reach out a lot more via social media, definitely.
Yes, and you have, as a scientist, you have to answer questions of the public, or you have to present also your work. This is what we have seen even now during the pandemic. It's a scientific topic, and now the people have the question, and now you have some stars in the media, some scientists, they are doing just scientific communication to do exactly what we try to do with algae. They are doing this with COVID to explain the mechanisms behind how you can fight it and whatever. And they are stars. They have millions of followers and whatever. And this is something you have to do in each sector of science, to communicate it to outside, because you don't have anymore this universal scientists working in physics, biology, whatever. You have very specialized researchers with topics your grandma will never understand what they are doing. But as a scientist, you have to be able to explain it to someone else what you are doing and why it's interesting and what could be the impact if you are successful. What I also recognized, and I never understood it, even the scientists, they are the most skeptical persons, the algae scientists, if it comes to a market or if it comes to a business. So they are all doing research, but if it comes to a business, it's kind of, that's something we want to have something to do with it. We want to separate from it. And I recognized it when I started to publish in a popular way. They said, you cannot do it as a scientist. It's not scientific publication. I said, yes. The goal is not to do it in a scientific way. The goal is that the people on the street understands what we are talking about. But they were skeptical. And I even heard the discussion when I was on a scientific conference, and I was asked by the organizers to bring some algae products, some chlorella products with me. And I brought chlorella lemonade, chlorella bars, and I put it there and everyone could take it. And there were scientists just trying the chlorella lemonade. So it was a product placed in the health food market. There was just a bit of chlorella inside, also to have the costs under control. But you could already claim the vitamin B12 content. And it was a green lemonade. It was a kind of fancy product.
Yeah, very cool.
And there were 3 scientists from the algae field trying this lemonade, and they said, yes, it tastes not bad, but the market will never accept it. There's algae inside, but just a few, so it's a bit... So when I heard this, I asked myself the question, if the scientists dealing with this topic and they want to make it to the food of the future or the biomass of the future for everything, and they are very skeptical if there are the first products out, which are sometimes trials, just also to test the market or to make it just visible. then it will never work. So this is something that will fail, because there will be a time when you will be asked as a scientist, what is the story about and what is the potential? But if you don't believe in a market potential, then you have to ask yourself the question why you're doing research on that, or why you want to make it great if you don't believe in the market potential. And I never understood this. And
well, it does seem that maybe the scientific mind around the world are changing. With World Algae Day, and you seeing India, South America is a huge market. Indonesia, Malaysia, that whole area, Australia, Japan, China, that now they're recognizing in their own way World Algae Day. Those are more, you're talking to, some people that maybe are, they're still thinking I'm a Western civilization guy, but they're still thinking in a Western civilization way, which is, yeah, America's not going to do it, and England's not going to do it, and Europe. So screw it. No one's out. That's it. That's it. We have 6 billion other people. Forget about them. But India is a majority, not majority, but there's a lot of vegan recipes and culture. A lot of Asia eats in a very vegan way already, with beans and rice and algae, for instance. They do use that. They already have a lot of that in their background. And when you spread that, that's when you start to get a lot more people that you can change the market from there. I think that, I would say that the sort of international connection around the world, where everybody kind of shares something together on social media, like, let's say if you like Pokemon, you can find people, a community on Facebook or Twitter or somewhere, that everybody around the world from South America to India love Pokemon. Same thing with algae. You're going to find people around, and I think that's only started since 2010 or 2015 even. And you see it even with you after 2017, initiating this. I keep seeing that in articles, you initiated. I think you just clicked a post, right? I mean, you just clicked, and that's what's so beautiful about it, is that anybody could do it. It's not, you don't have to do any. If you want to make a national algae day in India or Australia or China or anywhere, you can just, hey, well, look, Facebook. Oh, here we go. World Algae Day in Colombia. Here we go. So I think that that's going to be a very important thing as we go into the future. And I don't know if do you have any more time, or you want to? I think we kind of covered everything that I'd like to cover. If there's anything you wanted to add, or.
But yeah, maybe we can talk about the next ideas that are in the realization process.
Sure, let's talk about those. What are some of the projects you have in the realization?
Of course, we are still full of ideas and still limited in time, but the next things we want to realize are two things. The one is we want to open in spring next year the first algae discovery world. So this will be a building on our company's side. It's already finished, but due to the pandemic, we had to postpone the opening date from the beginning of last year to the beginning of next year. So 2 years of delay. And this will be a mix. We will have, of course, a kind of museum telling stories about algae, so the biggest unicellular organisms like Acetabularia, or we will talk about the discovery of sex. We will talk about bioluminescent algae. We will talk about oxygen production and the importance for the ecosystems. But we will also have a museum with products, with products from the supermarkets, showing that algae or algae extracts are already inside a lot of products, because this is also a wow effect for the people to say, wow, I'm eating maybe every day already algae, but I did not know, because it's claimed as E405 or something, and it's alginate or carrageen or agar-agar or something. And this reduces already the barrier to try algae, because if I tell you are already eating algae, but without knowing, then the barrier is very low to say, okay, now I try algae as a real.
Oh, I just recently, I hate to admit it, but I'm going to admit it. I'm getting my teeth whitened. A lot of people do it in the world, nothing to be embarrassed about. But they were using, to make a mold of my teeth, they were using alginate. And I even joked with him and said, the dentist didn't even know that algae was an alginate. Hence the word alginate, but sure, he didn't know. And so he said, oh, do you work with alginate? I said, no, I work with algae. And that's where it comes from, seaweed, but still, but you know, I love the concept that it's in everything you eat. It's also when you brush your teeth. I mean, it's in some toothpaste. So even after you eat it, it's even there, and it's in dentistry and you know, movies. Alginate is used to make, you know, those scary 1970s masks. That's how they did a mold of people. They would put that on and get like a mold of their face so they could put together a mask. And yeah.
And even algae are responsible for one of the industrial revolutions, when Alfred Nobel discovered dynamite on the basis of diatomic earth. So yeah.
Really? What? I didn't know that story. What was that again? What? I didn't know. Yeah, I know Nobel created dynamite. How did that come from algae?
Right, because he just used nitroglycerin, which is very explosive if you just touch it.
Yeah.
So it's not easy to handle and really problematic. And he just had the idea to use this paper rolls filled with diatomic earth and then put the nitroglycerin inside. And this was the discovery of dynamite. And you could store it, you can transport it, you can handle it without exploding everywhere. And this was the beginning of an industrial.
So even when algae are dead, like dead diatoms are coming, because basically some sands and rocks are dead diatoms. So that even algae, it's everywhere. I mean, it really is. It's like, you know, that meme where his head explodes and he's like, whoop. It's like that. It keeps going.
Yeah. And these days we are talking about the Nobel Prizes for medicine and whatever, and even the Nobel Prize would not be there without algae.
Yep, without ancient algae. Yeah, very cool.
And these are the stories we want to tell in the algae discovery world. There's already an installation also with an algae concept bar where you can stay, and the algae are growing on the wall, and you can just put your the fresh algae in your smoothie. And this will be the installation where you can talk with the people about the potential in urban farming, vertical farming, urban farming, what you can do with algae there. So this is one of the projects that will open next spring. And the other project we are developing right now together with the Chamber of Commerce here in Germany to have an official stamp at the end is the algae sommelier, because we have it will be
a wine? Like a wine?
Like the wine sommelier, yes. And with the same goal, because we have got a lot of interests from people from hotels or from chefs. So just tell me about algae. I have no idea about it. Where can I learn about it? And that was why the idea came up. Okay, we set up a course, a lecture and call it algae sommelier. And it's the same, to tell them about where algae are grown, how they are harvested, which kind of species are used in the kitchen, what flavors, what food safety aspects, what recipes. So, and this will be a 6 or a 9 months course. You have to pay for it, but at the end you can say, okay, I'm an algae sommelier and I know the basics about algae. So these are 2 of our next projects.
And these have seaweeds in it, and it's, you know, because I remember I saw a seaweed at one conference that I don't know, forget the name, but that it had the taste of bacon almost to it.
Right. This is dulce, porphyra.
Right. Yeah. Dulce. Yeah. Exactly. And so so there's so many ways to use this that it's, you know, and flavors. It's Yeah,
Palmaria, not porphyra. Sorry. Yes, but we will talk, and this is also something special. We will talk about seaweed and microalgae, like we did already in our cookbook.
Right.
And this is also very rare, because if you look at published cookbooks, the most of the people focus on seaweed, of course, as a kind of sea veggie. And we want to expand it also to the microalgae.
Yeah. The invisible world, the one that, you know, even when you look at the researchers, you know, I have this whole thing about pioneers of phycology, like the early people. You would be one, for instance. But back in the day, people were only researching that they didn't know. Not that they didn't know, but they wouldn't have a microscope good enough to look into. They didn't have an electron microscope. They didn't, you know, wouldn't be able to see some of the pictures that I see on like amateur microscopy. You know, people back in the 19th century, you know, 1800s, people would be crazy if they were able to see that. They would love it. But, you know, nowadays anybody can, you know, get a Toys R Us and get one.
And even with microalgae, you can create nice stories, what we are doing at the schools right now. And this is very successful. And I'm invited already for the next months to different schools in whole Germany. What we are doing, we are talking about the potential of algae for food and for other things. And then we are doing microscopy. I always choose spirulina because it's very visible, because it's a big multicellular spiral you can see. So it's easy to detect. Afterwards, I take spirulina powder to extract together with them by cold water extraction the blue phycocyanin. At the end, we have this blue water. And depending on the age, you can just say, okay, this is the blue food color used in Smarties or gum beers or whatever to color it blue or green. And we could have a tasting afterwards. Or we do together a Smurf latte colored blue by spirulina, phycocyanin. So you have the whole story from microscopy, extraction, and food application, and they will never forget, because otherwise it's too academic. And so you can really show.
Right.
Look at the supermarket, look in the confectionery shelf, you will find the claim spirulina extract is inside, or whatever, spirulina as a food color, such things.
Yeah.
And these are kind of examples where you can be very creative and innovative and say, okay, we are using that kind of story and explain this part of our.
Is this going to be maybe part of the World Algae Discovery or Algae Discovery Center?
Yeah, this is something we are already doing there. If we have visitors, you can book a premium visit in our algae farm, and then we are doing exactly like this. But if the Discovery World will open, there will be other courses you can do, like what Anna Atkins did already in 1815. To use this very ancient printing technology that she was using to create the first photo book of the British algae. And this technology we are teaching to the children. We are not using algae to print them. We are using other leaves or whatever what they want. If we do so, we can explain, okay, the first photo book in the world was created by a woman. This was very special. And it was about algae. And this was using exactly the technology you are using now to create your T-shirt or your, I don't know. Yeah, so we will have different courses.
It's very, I mean, we're definitely going to have to do a podcast before that. I personally have been very excited about, I've been calling it Alga Park in my head for a while, but because I just have this kind of Jurassic Park thing about algae, because they have these very scientific names. They all look very different. They're all ancient. They're, you know, billions of years old. And I love spirulina because it has that kind of snake. It's very an interesting looking spiral within itself. And then it's also elongated on like a longer thing that I've always, I don't remember if you remember, all the old cell phones used to have a snake game. So I always thought that would be really cool, is to have like a spirulina game that was just basically a spirulina chasing down nutrients. I don't know, something like that. But
the Pac-Man is eating chlorella.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, the Pac-Man's eating chlorella. Yeah, very. So I even downloaded some apps that do that kind of stuff. But I think that's definitely a direction. I've always had an idea that I'm doing like an application that would be like algae. It would be AlgaTalk. It would be like algae. It would be algae world news, like on your phone. So you get updates on everything that's going around. I think people that actually work in the industry are extremely busy. But it's very exciting about the algae discovery world, right? Did I say that right? All right. Yeah. Okay. Because I'm trying to get out of algae park out of my head and go into algae discovery world, which is I think a lot. It's more of an expansive name for the place. And this algae discovery world is going to be attached to the farm that you're the algae farm that you're. And where are you located? And because I've heard you say the name, but
the city is called Klötze. It's if you look at the map, it's more in the center of Germany, and the next big city you could know is maybe Wolfsburg. So it's 40 kilometers from Wolfsburg.
Sure. I mean, yeah, it's all German. It's all German to me. I mean, it's
but
no,
I mean,
it's yeah.
But if you come to visit us to do the next episode of AlgaTalk from the Algae Discovery World live,
I would love to do that. Yeah. I think we if we could try to maybe do it the day that you're opening up. Now, this is a side thing, but something to do maybe live or I don't know. I'd be happy to help you if there's a Zoom meeting and you need an administrator or something like that. And if you could take pictures, I mean, so you're saying it's under construction or it's constructed and
most of the things are already there. There's just a few work to do with some of the small installation because we want to show the bioluminescent algae in a kind of artistic installation, and we want to do some other things. So it should be it's a mixture between science and art. So we also have a very famous German artist on our side. He helps us to create it in a more artistic way.
Yeah.
Because we are scientists, we are looking on structure function, and he also brings a little bit glamour inside and a little bit exciting things.
So very cool. If someone wanted to follow you and see, all these things, all these projects that you're doing.
If you want to follow our projects or my projects, the best is maybe Instagram. You can follow my person, and there I'm very active. I'm more active than in my blog.
Is the Algae Discovery World going to have a website? Is it planned on having a website?
Not yet. It's planned, but this also will be published when we open the Discovery World. So beginning of next year. I think around May 2022.
Great. All right. Fantastic. So yeah, this is great, and I'm happy to celebrate. Let's hope that we have a better year than last year, which definitely it should be, and great. So thank you very much, and it's been great.
Chuck, thank you again. It's nice to have you on the site, and also I like your way how you're communicating to the people. I also follow you, and
all right,
thank
you have a good
everything.
One. Yeah,
greetings to Israel.
Yeah, greetings to Germany. All right, all the best. Bye.
Bye. Take care.
You too. Well, there seems to be a lot to be excited for in the future for algae. I hope everyone enjoys celebrating your World Algae Day in your own special algae way. And until next time, if you keep listening, we'll keep alga talking.